Yeah. Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. How's everybody this morning? This Wednesday morning? Big drink tea, yo yo. Hi Rachel Zinger. What's up, girl? Hi. I was crying last night because I feel like a big fat jerk. Um, when you go out of your way to, not like out of your way, but you make the decision to like do something nice and then you totally F it up. Rachel Zinger says, how you doing? Not the best. I feel like a total jerk. I feel really bad. I feel like just like a dumbass. Um, and I was crying about it last night because I felt so bad what I did. My my uncle David passed away yesterday, and he is my aunt's Debbie's husband, and my aunt Debbie is my dad's sister. So Uncle David, I wasn't directly related to, but he's my uncle, and thanks, Rachel. I wasn't really super close with him because they were in Chicago. My Aunt Debbie and Uncle David, they were in Chicago for most of my childhood. And then it was only recently that they moved out to the San Diego area in California. But yeah, I have fond memories of my Uncle David. He was British, so he had a pretty strong British accent. And he worked for the Tootsie Roll Company. And he would be like the executive, I think, that would go down to like Brazil and South America to buy like the sugar for Tootsie Roll and like go down and buy the chocolate for Tootsie Roll Company. So he made these big deals. And then I think later the company bought Chipotle. But when he would visit us in California, he would always bring this like gigantic bag of Tootsie Roll candy, like Tootsie Roll Pops and Tootsie Rolls and their other brands of like Tootsie Roll flavors. And it was like a second Halloween. Like it was really cool as a kid to have your uncle come and bring you all this candy. And he was pretty sick the last 10, 15 years. I think he had some kind of complication with a knee replacement and had a bunch of infections. And the last few years, he had early onset Alzheimer's. So that was difficult for my aunt, Debbie. And so I had gotten my dad and my stepmom had let me know yesterday, called me to let me know that Uncle David had passed. And I waited till the evening to text my Aunt Debbie, like my condolences, and I totally fucked it up. I just fucked it up. Like, I spent the time to be thoughtful about, my memories of him, and like, oh, like the candy, and, in this British accent, but I called him Uncle John. I called him the wrong name to my Aunt Debbie, who just lost her husband. I called him John instead of David. And I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I called him the wrong name. Like, I was being so like thoughtful of the time that I was sending the text, and like what I said in the text. And after I sent it, I was looking at that name, John. I'm like, his name is not John. Like, his name is David. I'm like, oh my God, like, I just sent my condolences, but I said the wrong name. Like, what a doofus. Like, I can't believe I just did that. And I could see my aunt read the message, and then I sent one right after. I was like, I'm so sorry, I meant Uncle David. I typed it wrong. But, she didn't answer, so I just feel like such a jerk. And, it's just like one of those things, like when like, it would have probably been better for me just to not do anything, not to send anything, not. But yeah, I was like really upset about it last night. It really bothered me that I did that. I fucked up on his name, like. Like, well, what do you do? I don't know. And it's not like my Aunt Debbie's, place to make, me feel better about it or anything. I'm sure she's really overwhelmed by everything. And I just feel really bad that I probably, hurt her feelings. And it's like, and I don't know why I did that. I don't know why in my head his name was John for that brief moment when I was, making my condolences. It's like, how, But his name was David, not John. I have 2 other Uncle Johns. All of my uncles and aunts pretty much have like biblical names or names from the Bible. Michael, Paul, John. I have 2 Michaels, 1 Paul, 2 Johns. Yeah, Tom. There's a Gospel of Thomas. So I feel like a total jerk. I don't know. Yeah, he's probably in a better place. So, yeah, I hope I didn't upset my aunt too much by it. So, yeah. It's like a text message is like, once you send it, you can't really undo it. At least I sent, I sent another text message to my cousin, who's, my aunt's son. And I said, sorry, your stepdad passed. And he responded, thanks, Kim. He appreciates it, but I didn't mess up the name on his text. Oh, so yeah, I totally put my foot in my mouth. Like, even though I didn't talk, I texted and feel like a total jerk. That's like one of the Sagittarian's traits. Because I'm like I'm full blown Sagittarius. I think I'm like a 6 or 7 times Sagittarius and like 5 times Scorpio on my chart. And like I just have like most all of my signs are in Sagittarius or Scorpio, and which makes me, and I'm also a Fucus. So I was born on the last day of a Fucus, as like at sunset. So I'm like, and then everything else, all the other planets are in. I'm a sun sign Sagittarius, but also a Fucus or Ficius or however you want to say it, and then like all my planets, you know, how they do like the Pluto and Neptune, and they're all in Sagittarius or Scorpio. So it's like even more a sign that I'm a Fucus, which is the master healer. But part of the Sagittarian trait is putting your foot in your mouth, like being too quick to respond and saying the wrong thing or upsetting somebody with what you say. And I do that. I do that. And it fucking sucks because I was like, I had, you know, I had like thought about what to say. And it's like, I don't know if it, you know, it's just like, it's like a total brain fart. Like, I don't know what happened. It's like, did I like switch timelines where his name was John for a second? Because I was, you know, I got all the details right about the Tootsie Rolls and it's just weird. It's just so weird that I did that. And then after I hit send, that's when I realized it was like I put the wrong name. Like, how the fuck did I do that? Like, why did I do that? When I'm trying to be thoughtful and caring, I like mess up his name. And then I could see my aunt reading it and just not responding. Like, like total cringe. Like, oh, why? Like I should not mess, like that is something you should not mess up on, and I messed up on it. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Rachel Zinger said, it's a beautiful background you have there. Thanks. Big Trink T says, don't feel bad. The so-called God makes mistakes as well. Well, hi, Wednesday Kennedy. What's up, girl? She says, my mom was a Sag. She was like that. I loved her. Yeah. Totally. It's just like say what's on the top of your head and then like go, oop, oh shit. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Big Drink Tea says, how the hell was you sick if you're the master healer? Healers can get sick, but the thing is that you heal after you're sick. Wednesday Kennedy says, Mom used to say that she spoke when she should have been silent, and she was silent when she should have spoken up. That broke my heart. She always had the best intentions. Yeah, that's the thing too, is that I hope my aunt sees my intentions of, you know, sending my condolences, you know, because my intentions were there to remember her husband, my uncle. I just fucked it up. Like I called him the wrong name and I did it twice in the text message. I called him Uncle John instead of Uncle David. Like, you know, oh, a typo. I typed it wrong. I mean, I did. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like why I did that. Like, ugh, of all things to mess up on. Hi, Emoji King. Hi, Red Dawn, non-NPC. What's up? She says, if your aunt is watching, she'll forgive you this. I doubt she's watching. I don't think a lot of my family watches my YouTube channel. They got bigger, you know, things to do. Yeah. Emoji King says, peace, love, and happiness. Thanks. Emoji King says, UFO, telescope, Easter Island figurine. Cool. Wednesday says, absolutely. Wednesday Kennedy says, oh dear, I'm laughing. Oh, wow, hee hee. Emoji King, yes. Rachel Zinger says, since none of us are perfect, I think intentions are very important. Yeah, it's just so cringe because I could see she must have an iPhone because I could see that she read the text message. She just didn't respond. And then I'm not going to look again, but she didn't read, like, it said that my corrections where I'm like, I'm so sorry, I meant Uncle David, I typed it wrong, I'm so sorry. Like, with those messages were delivered, but she didn't read those, so she's probably just like blocked me or something. Oh my gosh, like, Emoji King says, don't worry about it. Emoji King says, I'm in Boston. The Stonehenge is watching the aliens coming. Oh no. Yeah. So, yeah. That's about it. My sisters are also dealing with some like heavy like sexual harassment basically in the classroom. That's where the boys are just like doing obscene things and saying obscene things in the classroom, and the teachers aren't doing anything about it, and like saying really like really like pornographic stuff, and like doing gestures, like pornographic gestures, and the teachers aren't doing anything about it. So, and it's like, I'm talking to my mom about it. Like, if kids and these are like in the like smart kids classes. So, like, I was starting to remember in middle school if boys did that. And it's like, boys back then, they didn't have access to like prawn like kids do these days. Like, back when I was in middle school, you had to, like, there was only daddy's magazines, that you had to go hunt through the closet for, they were hidden and you had to go find the magazines and that's all you had to look at. Or, there was like VHS tapes that, from your parents or something that you could watch, like maybe find and watch with your friends or something like that. But there wasn't like, you just go on your phone and watch any weird, like the weirdest, most outlandish stuff. And like these kids are exposed to it. So they're like doing stuff in class and the teachers aren't doing anything about it. It's like, that movie Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer, but with like pornographic stuff. And Big Drink Tea says 80s baby here. What the hell's a dad? Emoji King says, I forgot my cousin's name one time who I hadn't seen in years. Yeah. I don't know. It was a really bad mistake, and I had the best intentions of doing something really nice and sending my condolences, but I just effed it all up. Wednesday Kennedy says, I was just thinking that someone's name's wrong is a sign of trauma or dissociation. I've done it too. Yeah, like, it's almost like in that brief moment that I was writing the text, I was in some other like timeline or some other place where that was his name. It's like the weirdest thing. Because I was like deliberately being so thoughtful about what I was saying and like the happy memories. I also said, like when he brought the candy, it was like Halloween. I said that in the text. And, and I was thinking like, like, oh, maybe it's not good to tie it, you know, a person that just passed to Halloween, like the spirits. But yeah, I just like fucked it all up. But I'm watching more, like I watch the Synergy channel a lot, and it's like every new video that Sabrina Wallace posts, it's like ties more with my own personal history. Like she said when she was she was hospitalized, and you know, they said that, oh, she just has low potassium. And when I was in the hospital, for my surgery, they said I had low potassium, and that it was like really bad low. There's like so many, you know, similarities with the experience. She also keeps talking about the brain to colon interface. Um, yeah. Rachel Zinger says, Luciferians come for the children. Wednesday Kitty says, yes, exactly. Emoji King says, I'm the 9th child out of 10. I have less to remember. Emoji King, wow, that's a lot of babies. 9th child, so you were like the baby almost of the group. Emoji King, how much of an age difference is between you and your oldest sibling? Wednesday Kennedy says, oh, darling, forgive yourself. Your uncle forgives you. I know it. Thank you. Thanks, girl. Yeah, I know. It's just like, I just feel really like, I feel bad for putting that on my aunt, like for her, like I feel bad her having to read a message from her niece, and I'm like calling her dead husband by the wrong name, and then like her deciding like she probably was just like, I can't even deal with this right now. I can't even, like, I just feel bad that I even put her through that. Like it probably would have been best if I just hadn't said anything, if I hadn't said anything. But I know when somebody dies, like, you know, it's this weird mixture of emotions, and a lot of times you're pretty numb. You're pretty numb at the beginning, and then you get like these waves of like emotion and remembering, and it hits you at like the weirdest times. And he did have Alzheimer's that progressed pretty fast. So, yeah, he's in a better place. It's just like, I just felt really bad that you know, I said the wrong thing to my aunt and probably made her upset, and that made me upset that I caused that. Rachel Zinger says, it's okay to make a mistake. It happens every day. Wednesday says, what's the brain to colon interface? Well, we have it, and it's called the enteric nervous system, and it's not really well understood, but like children that don't have their colon fully innervated, they have something called Hirschsprung's disease, because we have these like stem cells that, I believe that it's like when the spinal cord is being formed, and also like when the gonads are being formed, and the stem cells migrate down into the colon, and we have like a whole, it's like, it's why your gut is like the second brain, and we never really acknowledge it. But your colon is highly innervated with nerves, and are also tied to your emotions, and we kind of just ignore it as part of the nervous system. But there is a lot of new studies and stuff about the enteric, because like enteric is your gut, your intestines, the enteric nervous system. And I was talking on another live stream about my surgery that I had decided to have and have a, because I was told I have a redundant colon, that I had an extra foot of my sigmoid intestine. And so I decided to have it removed, and was in the hospital for 7 days after my surgery. And like I said, I had low potassium, and I was talking about it, and I was like, I basically had decided to give myself a lobotomy. Like I wonder, and people in the chat were like, lobotomy, are you stupid? I thought you were in medical field. Like, you even know what a lobotomy means? I'm like, yeah, I know what a lobotomy means, but if you don't know, the colon is like your second brain, and it's highly innervated, and if you cut out like a foot of your colon, you're probably cutting out a part of your brain, hence a lobotomy. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. But I didn't add though that so they told me I had a redundancy in my colon, and that was only through the results of a colonoscopy, which they did not finish because I can't tolerate twilight sedation. I think it's the Versed, but every time I've been given conscious sedation, one was for my wisdom tooth, the other was for my colonoscopy to see what was going on. They had to stop early. They had to abort the procedure because I was screaming the whole time. Like, I don't remember it, but apparently I just scream like really, really loud. Like, I get really loud and scream during the procedure. So they stopped it, but they said they got enough information and said I had an extra long sigmoid colon inside. They said it was a redundancy. A redundancy would be like a copy, like an extra copy. Like it was like, instead of one, there was like two, like two, instead of one S curve, there was two S curves inside. And I never had a CT scan. I've never had a CT scan, which is interesting. They never did a CT scan, and we did the surgery just based off of what the surgeon who did the colonoscopy said. And it's interesting because my brother, who had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and he died when he was 27, he had when he was diagnosed when he was 4 years old, my parents went to go have him checked out because he was walking, he was his normal kid, and all of a sudden he started walking on his tippy toes. Like, he started only walking on his tippy toes at 4 years old. And that's like, a characteristic sign of muscular dystrophy, because you start to lose the strength in your calf muscles and you start using your quads and your thighs to walk. And he had a muscle biopsy when he was like 5, and they said he had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. And at that time, they said he was only going to live to 17 years old. And then this information was shared with me when I was little. And my brother was 18 months younger than me. So we were pretty close in age. And so I grew up thinking that he was only going to live to be 17. But it ended up being a very slow progressing Duchenne's muscular dystrophy compared to other kids that had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. But my brother could walk until he was like 10 years old, and then he was permanently in a wheelchair. And then it was kind of just, he started, like, it was progressive muscle wasting, where his muscle would turn to fat. So, he lost legs, and then he kind of lost ability of lifting up his arms. And he lost a bit, like if his head fell back, he couldn't lift his head back up. So he was in this very advanced kind of wheelchair with like ways, he ended up like, he could operate the controller of his wheelchair with his fingers. He could still move his fingers. And that's how he drove his wheelchair. But anyways, later he ended up living till 27. But we had genetic testing done I he had genetic testing done, and then I had genetic testing done while I was in medical school because I wanted to see if I needed to take special precautions if I wanted to have a baby, just because they always told all the families that it's carried on the X chromosome. So my mom, decided, she wasn't going to have any more kids of her own because she didn't want to have another child with muscular dystrophy. And then I had to worry about, like, if I got that bad X chromosome, if I got the bad X like my brother did, like, then if I had a son, he would have muscular dystrophy. That's what they told us. So I wanted to know if I had a good X or a bad X from my mom, that had the muscular dystrophy on it. And so I had the sequencing done, and I did not have any of the genetic markers for muscular dystrophy, which meant that I did not get the bad X. But then the genetic counselor did further investigation on my brother's testing, and she explained to me that my brother actually did not have the normal mutation for Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Like, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy usually was like it was one of 3 types of deletion errors in the code that codes for the protein dystrophin, which is a protein in your muscles. Usually all other children with Duchenne muscular dystrophy have a deletion error at a specific spot. 3 different spots they could have error. And my brother didn't have that. What he had was a redundancy. This is what they called it. They called it a redundancy, just like how my colon was redundant. My brother had a redundancy in the genetic code for dystrophin, which means it was part of the code was duplicated, and so it made the protein fold just a little differently. So instead of having a faster progression of the disease, his disease wasn't as severe and he had a slower progression. And then they went further to say that, because of this redundancy in his code, this means that my mom wasn't a carrier, that probably the one egg that had this redundancy was the one that was fertilized, that it was like a 1 in a bajillion chance, and it was a one-time redundancy error that my mom it wasn't even on her X chromosome. It was just a random error. It's like, how, like, you can't write this stuff. Like, both of us had a redundancy. Like, they called it that. So, and later, like a few years ago when I started watching the channel Girl Town, and she was talking about the surgeries they do on people at USC, and they often call they tell people that they're redundant, or they use this code for calling the population. They call the people redundancies. So anyways, I kind of got off topic there. Yeah. Emoji King says, when I was a kid, they had the prawn hub in Boston called the Combat Zone. I never heard of that. Rachel Zinger says, I feel you though. I get real hard on myself. Yeah. Emoji King says, it was in the theater district. They also had arcades with video games and such. Oh, and you could go there as a kid? Like, it was like an old-timey theater? I know they had those places in San Francisco, but I never knew anybody that went to one. Wednesday Kennedy says, well, people with Alzheimer's don't remember names. They remember energy and vibe and smell and touch. Yeah. Big Drink Tea says, well, it's never too late to try harakiri to feel better. I don't know what that is. Rachel Zinger says, emotions are running high. The solar eclipse of the moon is coming soon, October 14th, my birthday. Oh, happy early birthday. So does that make you a Scorpio, Rachel Zinger? Or is that the end of, Libra? I don't know. I don't know very many. I don't know all the order of the signs like I should. Does it go Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, or Libra, Virgo, Scorpio? Wednesday Kenny says, "Wow, emotional brain to colon interface is shown in iridiology quite prominently." Excuse me. Emoji King says, "I have a brother 12 years older than me and a brother 4 years younger than me." Wow, that's quite a span. So your mother had children 16 years straight. 10 kids. You said, yeah, 10 kids in 16 years. Wow. Your mom is a saint. Wednesday Kennedy says, "My dad had ulcerative colitis, so irritable bowel syndrome. Would this have affected his memory?" Sure. Also, smoking. Smoking has a big impact on the colon because the colon has lots of nicotinic receptors. So like a lot of people that quit smoking can get ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease because their colon gets really angry when you stop smoking. The colon is your second brain. Wow, I've never heard this before. Thank you so much for sharing. Sure. Yeah, your colon has like all of the same neurotransmitter receptors like serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine. And Emoji King says the important part is you were there. Yeah. Wednesday Kenny says, "Oh darling, oh my God." Emoji King says, "In studying embryology, we find the colon was the premortal gut tube where all of our organs budded off from." Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your gut is really important. It's like the inside of your gut is actually the outside. Like if you think about it, you have a tube like coming from your mouth that goes all the way through you, a tube, and then it goes out your, your booty. And so the inside of that hole is technically on the outside of your body. Like you don't cross it. The only time you go inside of your body is when you cross a membrane. So that food, they call it a food bolus, when you put food in your mouth, it's all staying on the outside of your body because it's inside the tube. And then you're trying to like push water and enzymes into the food to release the nutrients to go past the membrane, the cellular membrane. So the poop, the stool is like always on the outside of your body. So it's kind of this like transition zone of the outside on the inside. Hi, Rasta Bear. What's up? Wednesday Kenny says, "Wow, interesting." Emoji King. Emoji King says, "Our organs are covered in bowel tissue, the parasod in the pleura." Yeah, the peritoneum. Rachel Zinger says, "I prefer total instead of partial sedation, maybe because of the addictive part of me." Yeah, that's the same with me. I've had to, because of my incidence of a bad reaction to conscious sedation, I have to have general anesthesia. Emoji King says Amplura. Wednesday Kennedy says, "Oh, your darling brother." Yeah. Wednesday Kennedy says, "Oh my God, what slow torture." Yeah. Emoji King says, "I was certified in iridiology in 1934. Iridiology." Rachel, wow, that's cool. Rachel Zinger says, "I have a nephew who has cerebral palsy. He has no control of his tongue and cannot get around well. It's sad to see." Oh, I'm sorry. Cerebral palsy really has a spectrum of how bad it can be. Like some people can have cerebral palsy and be really functional, and then others are like, bedbound. Like historically, a lot of cerebral palsy was from being pulled the wrong way through the birth canal. Like if like a doctor grabbed an arm and pulled the baby by the arm, like through the birth canal when born, or grabbing the head the wrong way, and it cranking the nerves at the cervical plexus, I think. Emoji King says, at a radiology school, we were told not to have our colons removed. Well, that was good advice. Yeah, I wonder, like, if I didn't go through the surgery, like, if I would have been more, if, like, my awakening process would have happened sooner, or if I would have been more psychic than I am. But I don't know. Emoji Sings says 1994 when I was 34. Wednesday Kenny says everything is so random. Yeah. Emoji King says I'm having coffee and a joint. Oh, good for you. Wednesday Kenny says pass it over. Don't bogart the joint emoji. Yeah. Rachel Singer says my nephew is alive 5 years past his expectancy. Oh, that's great. He must have really good care. It's usually the people that have really good families that love them. They do way better than what the doctors say they're going to do. Wednesday Kennedy says, sorry, Bogart, the joint, I can't spell either. Rachel Zinger says, how are you and Dimitri doing? Not too good. Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty upset yesterday and crying, and I don't even think he cared. Like, he was just on his phone, and he don't care. Rasta Bear says, much love, everyone. Emoji King says, I'm a home healthy to I'm a home healthy to a quadriplegic of 50 years. Wow, you take care of somebody that's a quadriplegic? That's basically how my brother was the last, 10 years of his life. Was basically like a quadriplegic, and how he needed to be cared for because he couldn't move his muscles. So, think about how a quadriplegic has to be, go to the bathroom, and that was basically how my brother was. But he was mentally all there, and thank God for it was the time of World of Warcraft and the Sims computer games. So that's where he lived his life. Basically, was on World of Warcraft as an orc, and he went on raids and stuff. And he was like, that was his life, and he could run and fight and do all this stuff that he couldn't do in his actual body. And he right before he passed, he was learning how to speak Dutch. So, and he started going to church on his own. So he was. Rachel Zinger says, she's a Libra. Oh, awesome. Rasta Bear says, my grandparents passed away from Alzheimer's and dementia. Oh, I'm sorry. Emoji King says, home health aide and surrogate. Oh, good for you. And best friend of my life, home health aide. I was here for both her parents in hospice and Alzheimer. I just gave her a coffin. Oh, that's so nice. That's a really good person that, good for you. It's really stressful too, taking care of somebody that is in so much need 24/7. Rachel Zinger says, it sounds like you're sad. I hear it in your voice. Yeah, I was sad because I felt like such a jerk. Rasta Bear says, I'm dealing with gut issues right now from coming off a long stretch of ketamine therapy. It has been wonderful, but messed up my insides. Wow, yeah, ketamine is like a whole other thing. I know when my brother got his spine fused, he had the spinal fusion surgery so that he could sit up straight in his wheelchair because the way his disease progressed, it makes you really contracted, and it makes your hands go like this, and his spine more scoliotic, and so so he could still breathe, without his lungs being crushed. He had a spinal fusion at Shriners Hospital in Sacramento, and when he was like 12, I think. Yeah, he was like 12 and I was 13 or 14. And they sedate children for anesthesia with ketamine. That's what they use for children. And it's interesting now that ketamine is being used as a treatment for addiction, and they're doing these ketamine infusion on people with addictions, and I guess it's like over a 3-week period, but then you're just sent home after the ketamine. Yeah, walk in. And I was just like, wow, it's like they're putting people to sleep with ketamine, like putting children to sleep with ketamine, and now it's just okay for people to get ketamine infusions and then being sent on their way, like on the street or driving a car, or like, I don't know, like some things can happen while you're on ketamine. But yeah, my brother, he was like, when he was in his hospital bed, he was hallucinating, and he was talking about the bubbles. He's like, the bubbles, 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 the bubbles. And we'd be like, Matt, what are the bubbles? And he'd be like, the bubbles, the bubbles. And then later, after he was, out of the surgical, when he was at home, we were asking him, like, Matt, do you remember, like, talking about the bubbles? And he was like, yeah. He remembered, and he explained it, that he was, like, looking, and there was, like, all these different worlds, like, different universes that, like, different realms, different worlds, like, and he was watching them float by, and they were in bubbles, and he could see he knew everything, he could see everything, and he was like trying to explain it to us, like, and we weren't that's why he was screaming about the bubbles, but that's all he could say was the bubbles. But he was in his mind, he was trying to like explain to us that he like could see it all, and it was like all these different worlds that he could see, and as they were floating by. Rachel Zinger says, Dimitri, your job to get her happy, in my opinion. Oh, thanks. Ross DeVere says, I gave a long shout out to Munder on Marfugal a few nights ago. Oh, that's nice. Did Marfugal answer you? Rachel Zinger says, about my nephew, that's exactly what happened. He was born in Germany, and they pulled him out with the forceps too hard. Yeah, that's what'll do it. It like crimps the cervical plexus and gives people cerebral palsy. Emoji King says, I would play music for the people at the nursing home, music from their youth like Betty Boop. Oh, that's sweet. I'm sure that really helped them. Spaldo says, tough end times. Yeah, Emoji King says, my mom had 3 miscarriages. If not for one, I wouldn't be here. Wow. So then she had 13 pregnancies? No. Yeah, 13 pregnancies in 16 years. Wow. Emoji King says, that kind of makes me walk in. Yeah, for sure. Emoji King says, they used to call me colon man. Ross Severa says, I have been doing top secret ketamine research, and I have been writing a book, doing yoga and experiences with vitals. Wow. Have you witnessed the bubbles, Ross Severa? Emoji King says, your epithelial lining. Rachel Zinger says, I was in a Shrines Club hospital when I was 5 for 6 weeks. I got my leg burned badly by my brother on accident. Shriners were nice. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's all free, I think, at the Shriners Hospital. Yeah, and the Shriners Hospital, it's all about kids and really sick kids. But then you look into like the history of the Shriners, and you're like, yee. It's like, I don't know. It's like, how much is it experiments on the kids versus, and then they help the kids that they did experiments on? Like, what came first? But yeah, I think, they treated my family and my brother really well at the Shriners Hospital too. Moja King says, when you permeate the epithelial lining, you are inside the body. Right. Rasa Bear says, I plan to open a clinical church here in Portland soon. It taps you into the matrix. There's so much more to this realm than your eyes can see, for sure. Hi, Kat. Bonjour, mes amis. Bonjour, mi amor. I don't think I combined French and Italian. Rosavera says, yes, Adam had a lot of nice things to say about Munder. It was a call-in show, and I called in. It's the thumbnail with the brown cow if you want to listen to it. Okay, cool. Is it on YouTube or is it on Marfugel's special website? I think Benton's doing a remembrance of Davy Crocco today. Rasta Bear says, I've witnessed more than you could ever possibly imagine. I bet. Emoji King says, I'm having another coffee and another joint. Oh, that's great. Rachel Singer says, you're right about the Shriners. I didn't know then, LOL. Yeah, I didn't know either. And that was the other weird thing is that during my brother's surgery at the Shriners Hospital, I was supposed to cheerlead at the Shriners game. Like, not even, it's like these weird coincidences that makes you think like, simulation. But I was a competitive cheerleader at the time, and we had gotten picked to perform at the halftime show for the Shriners football game. And it was going to be televised. It was televised. And I decided not to do it because I wanted to be there for my brother during his surgery. So I opted out of not going to the Shriners game, football game. I went to the Shriners hospital to be with my brother. It's like really weird coincidences. Emoji King says, I just smoked pot. I don't drink. Ross Bear says, it's on YouTube. Okay. Maybe I'll check it out. Emoji King says, I should be paying more attention to my yoga practice. Yeah, me too. I haven't been very active lately. Been kind of a homebody. That's the thing with when you're driving around in the van, tend to be a little bit more active. Getting up and about. Still have to figure out my clutch fan problem. Emoji King says, I did the fruitarian diet for a while. That was a trip. Did you feel like you got healthier or less healthy on the fruitarian diet? I feel like on the fruitarian diet, you must always kind of feel starving. Like, don't you crave fat? Don't you crave, like, some meat? Rasta Bear says, yes, I have just been getting back into yoga. It is crucial for gut health and overall wellness, for sure. Even just taking walks are really good for your gut health, because when you walk, like the articulation in your pelvis of your femur in the pelvis, it jostles the bottom of your colon. So it really helps with moving stuff through. That's why, like, after surgery, they really want you to like, have you walked yet? Have you started walking yet? Like, the sooner you can start walking, the sooner you can, well, they want to discharge you out of the hospital. But usually if you have some kind of abdominal surgery, the thing that gets you out of the hospital is when you poop. You have to poop. You have to be able to eat and poop. They want something to come out first before you leave the hospital. So the quickest way to get something out is start walking. Do laps in the hospital. But yeah, it helps get the gut moving. Rasta Bear says, yes, I've been getting back into yoga. It's crucial for gut health and overall wellness. Emoji King says, Michelle Fawcett is my wife's sister. Am her surrogate. That's cool. Rachel Zinger says, I love going for long walks nearly every single day. That's awesome. All right. Please give me a thumbs up. Emoji King says, Michelle is mute and very intelligent and smart. Wow. So you take care of a few people, Emoji King? Rostaber says, I would love you to do a stream with you at some point in the future. Yeah, for sure. I can do a StreamYard stream here in the next few days, and you can call in. StreamYard. Emoji King says, smarter than me. Yeah. Definitely when you have things taken away from you, you think of things in different ways than most people. All right, I'm going to go, even though I have 24 people. Thanks for joining. Sorry to my Aunt Debbie. Again, I feel really bad. And, you know, saying hello to my Uncle David in the better place. Yeah, that's it. All right, thanks, guys. Have a nice day.